Welcome to Hardcastle Crags. You're in one of the most beautiful settings in West Yorkshire, where thousands of people come each year to enjoy the walks, the river and the wildlife. This glorious landscape gives us a new reason to visit with each changing season. Hardcastle Crags is named after the huge rocky outcrops of millstone grit in the heart of the estate. But don't be fooled, Hardcastle Crags is a term that represents so much more to the people of West Yorkshire than simply the name of a natural feature. Hardcastle Crags and Gibson Mill have a unique combination of industrial, social and natural heritage, playing an important part of people's lives in this area for more than 200 years. From the early days of woodland charcoal burning and stone quarrying to a Victorian water-powered cotton mill and a 20th century entertainment emporium, it has continued to evolve to meet changing needs, finally reaching its present-day status as the National Trust's flagship sustainable building. Let me take you on a surprising journey to explore the passage of time in this very special place, and I'll show you some of the amazing spectacles that have unfolded here. First, we're going to look at the Crags' history through the 19th century. A time to work. Water power was crucial in the development of industry in this area. Early textile production focused on locally available wool, but good transport networks in the form of packhorse trails, coupled with the invention of new machinery, meant that cotton soon began to dominate. Families first worked at home to prepare and spin cotton using hand looms to produce cloth. As mechanisation increased, that meant greater efficiency and the move to purpose-built mills, known as manufactories, began. Thanks to the fast-flowing water of the Hebden Valley, Hardcastle Crags was the perfect setting to build a new cotton mill powered by a water wheel, and so in 1800 that's exactly what the owner, Abraham Gibson, did, giving us the building you're standing in right now. Gibson Mill. The mill provided invaluable work for the local area. In 1833 the workforce was made up of 21, mainly women and children, many of whom lived in the 6 Gibson Mill cottages that remain today, or in the now demolished Gibson Wood cottages. Despite working in relatively good conditions, working life was tough then, with people regularly putting in 12 hours each day, 6 days a week. Textile production at the mill continued through the 19th century, and as water power was supplemented by steam power during the 1840s and 50s, the mill kept pace with progress by installing a steam engine. That meant the mill could begin mechanised weaving and enjoy a significant increase in production. But by the end of the century, the original advantage of the site's rural location became a thorn in its side. Steam power required coal, but the cost of bringing it on horseback to the mill's isolated site became far too costly. Transport of raw materials added to the spiralling costs, and the rapid expansion of the larger modern mills with good access to railways, canals and a large workforce signalled the end for many rural mills. The Gibsons just couldn't compete with the large-scale production now locating in Hebden Bridge, and chose to end production at the mill, looking instead for new opportunities. Today you can see the original wooden ceiling beams above you and the flagstones on the ground floor, bearing the marks of the machinery and deeply worn by the feet of workers who stood carrying out their day-to-day tasks. In the engine house you can see the pit where the steam engine was housed, although the engine is no longer there. The weaving shed that was built for steam-powered cotton weaving still stands adjacent to the mill, and the row of 5 mill cottages and the riverside cottage have survived intact. And so, during the last decade of the 19th century, the mill was closed, but it was about to enter a completely new and exciting stage of its history, taking an uncharted turn which would see thousands flocking here each week. As the 20th century began, it was about to become a time to play. During the 19th century, people had begun to enjoy the natural beauty of Hebden Dale, which was becoming an increasingly popular tourist destination. The Romantic movement that first began in the early part of the 19th century became more fashionable in its latter years, and the dramatic crags within the wooded valley reflected a growing taste for wild and romantic landscapes. The Saville family, who owned the neighbouring Walshaw estate, introduced beech and pine trees and built a gated entrance and picturesque drive through the woodland, adding to the estate's overall beauty. The railway came to Hebden Bridge in 1840 and, thanks to advertisements in local guides, by the late 1800s the area was attracting visitors in their droves from West Yorkshire and Lancashire towns. In 1893, the third Abraham Gibson spotted an opportunity to profit from this growing popularity, offering to lease the building known as the Pavilion for use as a refreshment house. In a picturesque location close to the riverbank, it was developed to cater for the increasing number of visitors. Eventually, the Pavilion would be just one of more than 10 refreshment rooms in the area, including Barrett's and Mrs. Emma Greenwood's tea rooms, to name just two. As its popularity grew, the Gibson family decided to embark upon a more ambitious plan for the mill, which turned out to be an inspired decision. In 1902, Gibson Mill was redeveloped as an entertainment emporium with a vast restaurant and dance hall. Later, a roller skating rink was created in the weaving shed next to the mill, where the world champion roller skater Arnold Binns gave lessons in the evenings. People would hang on to the poles in the centre of the room for a quick rest or to stop them falling over. Outside, there was boating on the mill pond and ice creams on sale at the small shop. People could picnic on the seats beside the river, enjoy donkey rides and boat swings beside the pavilion, or hire a chalet or cottage to stay for a holiday. The river itself was a huge attraction, and not just because of the fascination with its changing seasonal nature, from its wild, wintry abandon to its soft summertime ripples. There are several sets of stepping stones along the river which seem to draw people of every age toward them. Whether it was back in the 1900s or right now, people just can't resist hopping over them. There were various other outdoor attractions that are still enjoyed by visitors today. The Fisherman's Hut, Lum Falls, not to mention the endless walking routes throughout the estate. Make sure you see some of them while you're here. With all this going on, you can see why this was such a popular place. Dressing in their finest clothing, people flocked here, pouring off the trains from Hebden Bridge. Thousands would come walking, some taking a wagonette from the station, talking, laughing and catching up on the week's affairs, all gathering to enjoy the promenading, the entertainment and the bustling atmosphere. Would you believe that at that time, with fewer than 30 employees, Hardcastle Crags attracted around 500,000 visitors each year? Why not climb up to the top of the mill today and see the original kitchen that served the restaurant? We've recreated how it would have looked, with the original partitions that were used to separate first and second class dining. Just imagine the people seated there, drinking tea and eating scones in all their Edwardian finery. But just as progress saw the closure of the mill as a textile hub, increased mobility after the Second World War enabled people to seek other new places to visit. England was on the move, and interest in the entertainment emporium had waned considerably by the 1950s, when the mill was closed once again. Between 1951 and 1956, the Crags and woodland were kindly donated by the Gibson and Saville families to the National Trust, taking it into the current phase of its history, a time to contemplate the past and, just as importantly, to create new memories of our own. The National Trust's aim has always been to conserve this beautiful area and allow people of the present day to enjoy it to the full, and so in 2006 Gibson Mill was renovated to make the most of its natural beauty and to leave a sustainable legacy for the future. Off the national grid, it was important that the mill could harness its own renewable energy, just as it always has done. Power is now generated by hydro turbines and solar roof panels. A biomass boiler heats the mill, fuelled by woodland timber, and the water for the mill's cafe is sourced from the woods and filtered so it's safe to drink. All the facilities on site have low energy consumption, and there are even composting toilets built within the old stable. Thanks to these developments, Gibson Mill is now the National Trust's flagship sustainable building. The Hardcastle Crags estate has a wilder appearance than its mass tourism phase of the early 20th century. Visitors come here now to spend precious family time in the tranquil countryside, enjoying the beautiful walks that change with each season, giving us waterfalls, woodland canopies and purple heather-clad moorland, stepping stones and interesting wildlife. The woodland is filled with many species of trees and beautiful flowers: oak, birch and beech, wood anemones, and of course the carpet of bluebells as spring turns to summer. Conservation is a key strategy for the present-day Hardcastle Crags. Throughout the year, the woodland needs careful management undertaken by our team of rangers and volunteers. Selective thinning helps the native trees to regenerate, encouraging growth of wild woodland flowers and improving the area for our rare northern hairy wood ants and many other species. When you see the large mounds within the woodlands, you know you've found the homes of the ants, and there are up to 1 million in each mound, so be careful not to disturb them. They may just crawl into your socks. Thanks to the entrepreneurship of 4 generations of the Gibson family and their success in adapting to changing circumstances, we're left with a fascinating legacy. The National Trust is ensuring a future for Hardcastle Crags, a sustainably powered place of outstanding natural beauty enjoyed by walkers, families and explorers just like you. Enjoy spending time here. Remember its exciting past. Take everything the mill, river and woodland has to offer and create memories of your own, just like the people of the past 200 years. Who knows what the next 200 will bring? Your time starts here.